This weekend marks the triumphant return of the Bat, the Cat, and the Penguin. Hang on, wait a second. Why does that sound familiar? Perhaps it's because that was the tagline for Batman Returns, Tim Burton's 1992 sequel starring Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, and Michelle Pfeiffer. This is a massive box office hit that spawned a shocking amount of video game adaptations, including a side-scrolling platformer for the Genesis, a beat-em-up for the Super Nintendo, a pack-in game for the Lynx, and even a driving game for the Sega CD. But instead of talking about any of those popular versions, I want to focus on the one that almost nobody talks about these days. That's right, the Batman Returns point-and-click adventure game on PC. While the console versions had fast action and excitement, this computer game was forced to rely on great graphics, a moody atmosphere, and strong writing. To help celebrate the Batman hitting theaters this weekend, I want to take a look at this forgotten 1990s gem. Turn back now if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're going to spoil the story and ending for Batman Returns on PC. This is Game Over, the early years. You know that feeling when you turn on the news and it just feels like the whole world is crumbling around you? Well, I imagine that's how Batman feels 100% of the time. Sometimes as a two-faced politician causing trouble, while other times as a guy in a costume who won't stop asking riddles. On this specific day, the news is reporting on a gang of hooligans dressed as circus performers who have attacked the annual tree lighting ceremony. Determined to find out who's responsible, Batman jumps into his trusty old Batmobile to confront some of these hooligans. His first stop is Shrek's department store, where he finds a bunch of those circus freaks the news was talking about. He interrogates them, but they just keep talking about broiling fish and looking for attention. He fights a few more just for good measure, and then breaks into the mayor's office, where he finds an audio cassette that the game insists is a videotape. That's gotta be a clue, but there's no time to watch it now, because the news is reporting that the circus-themed riot has spread into the downtown area. Also, it's like really cold out. You have no idea. So, obviously there are more hooligans downtown, but Batman knows that it's better to stay above the fray and move along the rooftops. While he picks up what he can, he knows that he can only get so much out of these freaks. It's better for Batman to head back to the Batcave to comb over the evidence. Who knows? Perhaps it'll open up a new lead. Now, in case you're wondering about that audio cassette masquerading as a videotape, well, prepare to be disappointed. It's just footage of the mayor giving Commissioner Gordon an award for his hard work. Boring stuff. Batman decides to plug in the rest of the evidence that he collected from the circus thugs and then cross-reference the computer for known criminals, politicians, and business dealings. This comes up empty, but he can sense there's something there. Night 2 starts with some incredibly curious news. Apparently, a man named Oswald Cobblepot foiled a kidnapping attempt on the mayor's infant son. We're told that Cobblepot suffers from a congenital deformity that gives him a penguin-like appearance. Curious. Batman may want to remember that name. But first, he's going to head over to Tony's Fish to see if they've had any odd transactions. Tony informs the Caped Crusader that he's been sending an unusual amount of Simonus frigidus fish to the Gotham City Zoo. Batman takes that lead and heads to the zoo, where he finds another videotape laying in the snow and then a lot more of those circus freaks from the riot. This one here reveals that the leader has something big going down at midnight. What could it be? We'll find out soon enough, but first he wants to watch that video. This is where we get our first look at Oswald Cobblepot, that penguin-y guy from the news. He's scheming with Max Schreck in the sewers. The video doesn't reveal too much, but it does give Batman more than enough incentive to check out Shrek's office. Unfortunately, he doesn't find much, but that's okay, because he knows that something big is about to happen at the bank at midnight. He rushes down there, and who does he run into? That's right, it's Cobblepot, of course. Oswald Cobblepot is the Penguin, the leader of those circus thugs. The two men fight, but the Penguin escapes before Batman can do any real damage. While he may not have gotten his man, this was clearly a productive day. Night 3 opens up with a return to Shrek's office, where Batman finds a crumpled up note that wasn't there the day before. The Dark Knight also finds new evidence at the zoo and the mayor's office. Hey, speaking of the mayor, apparently a group calling itself the Citizens for Good Government has announced a recall effort. You would think that having your baby kidnapped one day before would have won the mayor some sympathy, but guess not. I'm not entirely sure if the fishmonger supports the recall, but I do know that he made another big delivery of that very specific type of fish the Batman was asking about. This gives our hero a good reason to head back into the zoo. And wouldn't you know it, the Penguin is there to stop him in his tracks. Once again, Oswald Cobblepot gets away, but don't worry because Batman has a lot of new evidence to scan into the computer. I feel like we're close to cracking this case wide open. Now, it's while searching through the evidence that Batman notices that the name Selina Kyle keeps popping up, so he decides to break into her apartment and search for clues. Normally, that would be a big deal, but things take a hard right turn when the Penguin hijacks the television news feed to address Batman personally. He says that he's going to release a video that would be so devastating to the mayor that there's no way he'd be able to survive the recall. As they say, politics ain't beanbag. So, I bet you're wondering, what exactly is on that tape? Well, it's the mayor being offered a $10,000 bribe. He declines, but admits that it's tempting, especially with all of the family issues that he's having. Look, honestly, to me, it seems pretty tame, and the fact that he doesn't actually take the money, it makes him look surprisingly clean. But Batman's computer strongly believes that if this information were to get out, it would be the end of the mayor's efforts to avoid the recall. Fearing the worst, Batman continues his search for clues at Selina Kyle's apartment, the mayor's office, and Shrek's headquarters. Clearly, a lot is happening off-screen. In fact, so much is happening that we completely miss Selina's traumatic transformation into Catwoman, who ends up getting into a one-on-one fight with Batman. She gets away before our hero can unmask her, but I'm pretty sure that he knows who she is. Back at the Batcave, Batman catches the breaking news that the Ice Princess, Gotham City's beautiful symbol of the holiday season, has been kidnapped. Unfortunately, there are no other details beyond the reports that her last known location was going into her dressing room at Shrek's department store. That sounds fishy. Not missing a beat, our hero races to Shrek's, where he immediately finds the kidnapped Ice Princess. But wait, before he can act, Catwoman whisks her away and heads to the rooftop. When Batman reaches the roof, Catwoman is gone. The Penguin suddenly appears and throws his umbrella at the Ice Princess. Bats swarm from the umbrella, terrifying the Beauty Queen so much that she falls to her death. Yeah, that's bad, but things are only going to get worse for Batman. While trying to escape back to the Batcave, the Penguin reveals that he's secretly in control of the Batmobile. This sets up an exciting car chase where Batman smashes through traffic and careens wildly through the streets of Gotham City, all while the police chase behind. Thankfully, Batman eventually regains control of the car and then forces the police to crash into a narrow alleyway instead of, pulling over and explaining what happened. So, with the police after Batman and the public being told that he was the one that pushed the Ice Princess off that building, things are looking real bad for our hero. But don't worry, because he's got a plan. You see, Batman has recorded the Penguin's insults, so when Cobblepot attempts to give a triumphant campaign speech, all the crowd actually hears is him mocking Gotham City's working class. The crowd immediately turns on him, ultimately thwarting the Penguin's attempt to become the next mayor. This may have screwed things up for Cobblepot, but that's not going to stop Bruce Wayne from showing up at Shrek's ball, where he finally has a chance to meet up with Selina Kyle. They dance, which is a little weird considering how many times he broke into her apartment, but it's Michelle Pfeiffer, so you can totally understand how he can't resist her charm. And then the whole place blows up. The Penguin rises through the floor with his Duckmobile. He reveals that while the elite's party, his circus freaks are fanning out across the city collecting everybody's firstborn sons. He then grabs Shrek and escapes right back into the sewers. That's important, so remember that. What comes next is Batman pursuing the Penguin into the caverns, racing deep into the subterranean lair until he reaches the awkwardly named Bat Ski Boat. That's good news, but the even better news is that all the firstborn children are being guarded by one easy-to-beat thug. When the Penguin learns that Batman has rescued the kidnapped children, he sends the signal to his special army. That's right, an army of missile-carrying penguins have their marching orders and are determined to destroy Gotham City. But don't worry, because Alfred is able to jam the Penguin signal, reprogramming them to turn right back around. Now, we have the Bat Ski Boat racing down the sewer at the exact same time the Penguin is fleeing for his life. The two collide, sending both men flying out of their crafts. The two men fight for a couple of minutes, but once again, Cobblepot flies away. But things do not go well for the Penguin. Once it gets back inside, he's knocked out and falls into the water. This sets up a couple of different endings. Here's a supercut of what happens next. Look, I know what you're wondering. Did I really need to spend that much time revealing the plot points of a 2-hour-long movie? I mean, we've all seen Batman Returns, so there's no mystery here. We already know what happens. Well, that's certainly true. I feel like this game is all about that mystery. It acts like you're coming into this story completely blind. Obviously, that's hard to do with something as big as Batman Returns, but I gotta admit, I respect the attempt. I like that this is Batman in full investigation mode. That's something the new film is promising, which is one of the many reasons why I'm so damn excited. I mean, we've already seen Batman punch and kick, now I want to see him use his intellect to solve puzzles, just like in this game. As for the endings, I can't help but feel like they rush through both the good and the bad cinemas. The best one involves Catwoman getting a revenge on her former boss. Of course, we don't really know any of that backstory because the game keeps most of that off screen. But hey, if you saw the movie, then it makes a whole lot more sense. Despite a few storytelling quirks like that, I like this version of Batman Returns. It's the best of Batman's skills done in a genre that was best on home computers. It has great art and an atmosphere that is similar to the blockbuster movie. Honestly, I'd take this point-and-click adventure over most of those action games that we saw on consoles. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Game Over, the early years. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes almost every week. In fact, we just looked at Batman Return of the Joker last week, and we have a whole episode where we dig through a bunch of classic Batman endings. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite Batman game? Ooh, there have been so many great ones over the years. From Batman on the NES to this point-and-click adventure game to the Arkham series on modern consoles. I can't wait to see where you land in the Batman rankings. In other news, we'll be back next week with reviews of both Wing Breakers and What Lies in the Multiverse. I can't wait to talk about both of those. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,